guys? Adam back again with the RVA Returners, following up with another deck tech and our lead up to the Portland Water Crystal Cup. So we're kind of going over potential decks that we would play. Let me state first off that if I were to be playing, I would probably somewhere between Mono Water Veritas and Earth Wind. But seeing as how we've kind of covered both, maybe not so much the Mono Water Veritas, maybe that will be a future deck tech, but it's a very popular deck right now. But we've already covered Earthwind twice, so I kind of wanted to do something different. Maybe a deck that you might see, a deck that's starting to crop up a little more, and a deck that I like a lot because personally, if you don't know, my favorite Final Fantasy is 7. So with the cards that we got in Opus 8, Final Fantasy 7 got quite a boost. So we're starting to see some of these 7 decks crop up, and the most popular one right now is Fire Earth. So we're going to go ahead and look at a Fire Earth 7 list that I've made. And something that I'm pretty confident in. I think it's really good if you can stick some stuff on board and you can really outvalue your opponent through some cards. So let's go ahead and look at the main cards that you're going to want to be looking at, and those are the Final Fantasy VII cards that matter a lot in this deck. So first up, Barrett, obviously, a new card to Opus 8. You want to get this guy down as early as you can. He just generates so much value. And, I mean, if he's allowed to swing every turn, he's probably just going to be drawing you an extra card, which is just kind of nuts for every turn he stays out. And on top of that, he's a burst, so if he comes off the top, you're also going to be able to look at the top cards of your deck and grab another 7 character that way as well. And because it's character, we can also grab backups and monsters if that becomes a thing later down the road. But currently, right now, no 7 monsters. So after Barrett, I would say the next most important thing is the Opus 4 backup Jesse. You'll notice that I'm not running the Opus 1 backup Jesse in this list, which is the Final Fantasy VII Tutor. And it's really because I want to play this Jesse so that my Barrett only costs 4 and my Cloud only costs 2. Getting those discounts is very important, especially on Barrett. You want to be able to play Barrett for 4, force your opponent to have to use some removal, kind of like Diabolos or something. And then maybe have a way to blow him out just for doing that. Barrett being a 9k is a big deal. It lets him kind of swing without really caring too much. Not much early game is going to be messing with the 9k. And he's going to be kind of tricky to remove before your opponent is on, 3 to 5 backups. We want to be able to play our Barrett for the most value. And so doing that off 2 backups, one of which being Jesse, is just really, really good and borderline unfair. Next is the new Tifa, also from the Opus 8 starter. She's just got a lot of text. I mean, we can discount her if we control Cloud. She has Brave, and then she also has an S on top of that, where she could just, drill something for 10k that stole. And the fact she has Brave means that we can attack and do that in the same turn. Really, why I think this Tifa is important is because we're going to be able to give her haste through a card I'll go over later. And if we play Cloud, she's going to just cost 2, which is just really dumb. And then speaking of Cloud, we have Cloud. We're running the Light Cloud in this list and the Fire Cloud in this list. Both are very important. Both are EX bursts. Both feel really good when they come off the top. You'll notice that this list is kind of very burst heavy, just, by accident kind of. Like, it's not really built that way, but because a lot of the really good cards that you're going to want to put in this list are EX bursts, it just kind of ends up falling down that way. So let's go with the Light Cloud first. Light Cloud really just synergizes so well with 7. I mean, if you have another 7 forward, he's going to come in on curve, kill something that's 7k or less, or deal 7k to finish something off that maybe was damaged. With Jesse, he's only going to cost 2. His special, it becomes very, very relevant. And like I said, he's a burst. And then you move it on to the new Legendary Cloud from Opus 8. This guy is just a beater in the mid and late game. He's a big body that's probably going to remove something when he comes into play. And if he comes off top at critical moments, he can also just swing a game that way as well. I mean, he's just nuts. He's probably one of the better fire cards from this set in general. And, I mean, the fact that you can bring him back by removing 10 cards is just like a plus. Like, if you have to do that to win a game, you're going to do that every time, right? So, and rounding out the 7 forwards, we have one of Opus 1 starter Tifa. She's just kind of here as another option as a search. And, kind of more S fodder. You're going to play the Earth one more so over the Fire one a lot of the times. But maybe if you're in like a Lightning matchup where you don't want the Brave and you just want to be able to swing through, maybe you'll search this one over that instead. Let's get more into the 7 backups outside of Jesse. So first we got Wedge. Wedge is just a way that we can search Barrett. So say maybe our start is Jesse into Wedge, then play Barrett for 4. That's a pretty solid start. It's just a one of. The only target here is Barrett. Sadly, maybe Wedge will get more targets in the future, but it's also a target for Barrett when he's attacking as well. Then we have a one of Zac, another EX Burst card. This card really just gets one of our clouds back. So say they killed our 5 CP cloud. We didn't want to mill the 10, so we play Zac the next turn. We get our cloud back. We then replay our cloud for that value again. Zac's just a really good card, and when he hits off burst, you feel really good. You just get a free card back. Sometimes he's going to recycle Light Cloud so that you can just play, deal another 7, and then, or maybe you're just getting another cloud back to be able to special with Light Cloud as well. Then we got Marlene. I think Marlene is an absolutely insane card for this archetype. It's also a very nutty title card if you're playing that kind of route. Basically, we're going to get back any Barrett, any Tifa, any Cloud. And then Aerith is on that list too, but obviously there's no Aerith in this list since we're not running Wind at all. So really, and the fact that she's a burst, when she hits off the top, you're just getting a free card back. You could play her for pseudo 2 CP early in the game if you have to. Or again, you could be recycling Cloud, Tifa specials, or Barrett that you might have lost that you just want to replay. She's just really good value. And then our last Final Fantasy VII card is Zangun from Opus 1. He's an EX burst as well that searches out any Tifa and then gives any Tifa cost 4 or less haste, which is all the Tifas in our deck. So just being able to fix our colors with him is insane. Like now that he can search an Earth card or a Fire card, that's really good. The fact that he gives both our Tifas haste is going to put our opponents kind of on a clock, because they always have to be worried about another Tifa coming down. And then potentially, you're playing that Marlene, you're getting a Tifa back, and then you're playing another one and hitting him in the face. That's just really good. So let's go ahead and go over the forwards that aren't Final Fantasy VII. So first up, I have Undead Princess. This card's been really good for me in testing. You kind of ditch her early, and then later in the game you could use her to push through, or later in the game you can use her to kind of save yourself an extra turn. Sometimes you could just play her as a body that they have to deal with. And then sometimes you can play her at the end of your opponent's turn just as like kind of a pseudo haste option. And she's just really solid top to bottom. You could probably go to 1, but I like her at a 2. Then we have 2 of Lise. This is a card that I kind of want to try to fit 3 of it if I can. She's just going to make our guys bigger and harder to deal with. And I mean, yeah, that's really it. And the more damage we take, we're going to get those EX bursts off, and then she's just going to power up our forwards even more. And, that just does a lot for the deck. Then we got Noctis. Again, just a really, really solid Earth card, really solid Earth forward. He is an EX burst that only triggers on the 6 point of damage, but he lets us kind of deal with some early aggression that way as well. And, maybe some stuff that's harder to deal with, kind of like Y'shtola or Aerith. Because he can get around it with like his fight triggers. And then I got a one of Wall here. Just another solid Earth card. Gives us some kind of more oomph in combat. Lets us avoid our opponent's EX bursts. Nothing really too crazy here. He's just a one of. Then we got 2 Zell. Zell for here is our primary way to kill things like Cactuar and Layak. Those are going to be real problems for this deck if it goes later into the game, where we need to be able to get rid of those things, and just some other pesky monsters that you might see along the way. And also just another haste option to be able to, again, hit our opponents in the face when they don't expect it. And then the last forward that's not Final Fantasy VII is Cecil from Opus 5. This legendary is just insane right now. It's in a lot of decks that are running Earth. Probably, like, if you're running Earth, this is a card that you should always be looking at. It's just really good. Once you've kind of taken that beating from trying to build your backups, and then you just play this guy on like 3 or 4 damage, you're going to kill something that swung at you. And then, Dark can just get out of control and kind of swing the game back into your favor, even though you're on these high damage counts. Yeah, and then, maybe you're going to Dark and hit one of the 26 EX bursts that's in this list. So then moving on to the summons, we're running K-Tuna, so I'll go ahead and show that now as our backup. So we're going to run a bit of a package around her using Brynhildr and Bahamut and Belias. You could also go a different direction. Phoenix is very strong in this deck as well because we have so many really good 3 CP targets. And then the spice in the summons is just a one of Titan from Opus 1. This gives the ability for us to save our Barrett from removal. A lot of times our opponents are going to want to Diabolos. They're going to want to do things like that to get rid of Barrett so that he doesn't have the opportunity to swing. And if we can pay that extra 2 to save him, it's going to kind of blow them out. And then on that same vein with Belias, 2 CP, we're going to be able to just make him swing the turn he comes out, or give one of our mini hasters first strike, or give one of our guys haste. So there's a lot of access to haste in this deck. And so this deck can be very fast, but it can also play kind of a tempo-y game with just big bodies. Then moving into our backups, the non-7 backups, obviously. We have Yasuo as a 2 of. Yasuo has been insane for me as well. It says something can't block that costs 5 or less. That's basically everything in the game, minus Veritas and a few other cards that cost higher than 5 that see play. But basically, we're going to get to move things out of the way that are problems for us and swing through for game, again, with our hasty guys. Or just, force our opponent to have multiple forwards on the board in order to be able to block our guys. Then we got 2 of Miner. Miner's just a really, really solid Earth backup. Lets us kind of play efficiently in the early game. Maybe kind of pitch down, get backup, then play another backup. Typical Miner things, and then it's going to recycle stuff for us later in the game when we need it. And then, like I showed earlier, 2 of the Vermilion Birdless CK Tuna to power up our summons and get kind of our fire stuff online, dealing more damage and whatnot. So yeah, that's the whole deck. It's very good. If your opponent can't answer your early game, it can kind of spiral out of control once Barrett gets to swing, 2-3 times. It's kind of like game over at that point. You're just drawing extra cards every turn and putting bodies on the board. It's really hard for your opponent to deal with. And then the fact that when your synergies start working together, you're removing things out of the way, you're playing guys for cheap, and you're just doing all sorts of unfair things. So I'm glad that Final Fantasy VII is starting to see a lot more play again. These new cards are actually very strong. They just have to make it a turn or two to really see the value, which can be a problem when we're running into things like Veritas and stuff like that. But if you can also switch this deck around a little bit, do a little bit of flavor to taste, but I kind of like it, this list as it is right now. I've been playing it and have had some pretty decent success with it. And yeah, if you like Final Fantasy VII, give it a try. So that's my list for Portland. Obviously, like I said earlier, if I was trying to win this thing, I'd definitely be looking at Mono Water and Earth Wind as well. But this is definitely a list that should be on your radar, and I think you will see it for sure, of some form. So, and this isn't the end-all be-all 7 list. I'm sure there'll be things that come out later, and you'll probably see more 7 lists from me, as this is like kind of a personal thing. I really like the game. So yeah, with that being said, talk to you guys later. I look forward to seeing you guys in Portland, and peace.